Welcome to a Locked On NFL Thursday show. We got a lot to talk about. Thursday night football, an AFC North divisional rivalry between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to dive into it. Then there are some teams that are 0-2 right now. Do me and Luke believe in any of them to still make the playoffs? And then there are a lot of teams that are 2-0 as well. Do we, let's say, have less faith in any of those teams to keep their hot streak going? We're diving into it and much more on a Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. Let's roll.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Football fans, it is that time again, another Locked On NFL podcast. It is the Thursday show. I am one of your normal hosts, Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans, and we are here with a special sub, I will call it, for Alex Clancy. We got Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings on the show. He's absolutely excellent, covering the Vikings Monday through Friday, but also gives some pretty excellent candor on national topics, and we got a lot to dive into today. Before we get into our preview of Thursday night football between the Browns and the Steelers, do want to let you guys know that today's edition of Locked On NFL is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You simply pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code Locked On. Thank you for making the Locked On NFL podcast your first listen every day. Subscribe on all platforms. You're going to find the Locked On NFL podcast everywhere and always free Monday through Friday. But let's dive into our Thursday night football preview here. Luke, as we said, we have the Steelers against the Browns. Both teams at 1-1. Both teams have had some good moments. Both teams have had some terrible moments as well. Going into this game, I guess my first question is, who do you think wins this one between the Steelers and the Browns?
I think I might be on Team Meteor. I don't really care for either of these teams. I don't like the Mitch Trubisky-led Steelers. I don't believe in them. And I wish ill upon the Browns, but also like Jacoby Brissett and Mitch Trubisky kind of feels like both these teams will lose. Remember a couple years ago when they tied? Can we do that again? That would be funny.
Yeah. I think if they tied and somebody, namely me, got hit in the head with a helmet during the game, I think we'd have a lot of good stuff going on. But I'm with you. I can't say that I'm a big fan of either of these teams, and I can't say that I think either of them make much noise. But at the end of the day, I just think that the Steelers have a better defense, and that'll put their bad offense in positions to score. One thing with the Browns, though, is they do have that mighty rushing attack, and that may be good enough. So I'm actually changing my pick mid-explanation after talking myself out of it. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, once you start actually going through, I'm the type of person where I have to talk myself through my thought process. I can't just think it all at once. I got to talk through it. And thinking about it, you know, the Steelers defense may be a little bit better, but when we're kind of doing a weigh in the scales situation, I think the Browns offense is a lot better as currently constituted than the Steelers offense is. So I am going to go with the Browns in this game. Luke, let me ask you this question then, since the outcome of the game maybe not be something that we're full frontal into as something that may matter in the NFL. With the Browns, do you think if they win this game and they go forward, that the Browns could still be in a chance to make the playoffs once Watson comes back in Week 11?
Yeah, I think if they stick around at like 500, they could make a run. I think that should be their goal right now. And they are, just went to bet online. They're favored by 4.5. So 1.5 better than the Steelers on a neutral field plus home field advantage. Feels about fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. And what I would also say is, looking at the division, this makes this even more likely to help them out to be in a good spot, because if they go to 2-1 in the AFC North with the Ravens at 1-1, the Bengals at 0-2, I think both those teams are better than the Browns, but they would have a pretty heavy advantage over them to stem that tide until Watson shows back up.
Yeah, any wins you can stack right now, you'll be grateful for, because I do think, I mean, the game the Ravens lost, they did not exactly look bad in that game. Sure, they
Right.
collapsed at the end, but you got Lamar Jackson looking like he's 2019 Lamar Jackson. I
Yeah.
think the Bengals might have a turnaround in them. We'll get to that. Um, so I don't think you can just run away with this division just because a couple of teams are off to weird, shaky starts.
Mhm.
But any wins you can get, give me 5 wins going into, what is it, week 12 when Deshaun Watson comes back,
Yeah. After
and
the
you'll
bye.
have 5 games left to go. And then all you got to do is make the dance too if you're the Cleveland
Right.
Browns, because even if you have to go on the road, that's a little bit harder. You'll clearly be a better version of yourselves on the field than the version that lost out on that division title in the first place. So I do think that, yeah, this is kind of has like more playoff implications than a Thursday night divisional game between a Mitch Trubisky and Jacoby Brissett led team usually would.
Right. 100% on that. Well, let me ask you this question, and the last kind of angle that I want to take looking at this game. If the Steelers do lose this game, and as I think we're both projecting it's ugly on offense, is it Kenny Pickett time in week 3? I was watching
Yes.
that Steelers game last week, man, and we knew it would happen, and it did. 3 and out from the Steelers, look bad, and you can hear the crowd. Kenny, Kenny. So you say yes. I say yes too. If you can't beat the lowly Browns with Jacoby Brissett, then what do you think that you're going to accomplish with Mitch Trubisky? At minimum, you could start to get Kenny Pickett ready. I agree with you. I think if the Steelers lose this game, it's probably time to go ahead and make the switch. But we got a
I thought
lot
he'd go
more
in
to
week 1.
discuss. Yeah, I mean, why
Like,
not? I mean, what
I
are we
thought he had a
doing
good
here?
enough preseason too, at least, but I didn't watch it nearly as close as like Christopher Carter would have Locked On Steelers. So
Absolutely. And
I'll
make sure you
defer to
check
whatever he
out
says.
Locked On Steelers and Locked On Browns Monday through Friday, free and available on all platforms for their analysis of this game. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Kenny time. And if the Steelers lose this, hopefully for the enjoyment of football fans everywhere, it is Kenny time in week 4. But moving forward, we got a lot to talk about. There are some 0-2 teams. Do we believe in any of them to get out of that slump and still make the playoffs? There's some 2-0 teams. Are there any that we don't believe in that we think could slide back from their hot start? We're going to get into all of that. Before we do, though, do want to tell you guys about our partners over at Nugenix. I know for me personally, I'm getting older. I'm past 30 now. I feel sometimes like I'm washed up, little less like my old self. Don't feel like I have the energy to work out. Don't feel like I have the energy to get through all my responsibilities. Well, I know of a product that could really help you out, and it's Nugenix Total T. It contains man-boosting key ingredients like testofen. It's been validated in 5 clinical studies, and it's shown to boost free testosterone levels in men because Nugenix Total T boosts free testosterone that aging processes rob. You'll feel stronger, leaner, more energy and drive, and more passion as well. Your partner will definitely notice the difference. Nugenix Total T can help re-energize your life and help you get back the powerful, confident, good-looking warrior you used to be. Now, get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text NFL to 231-231. Text now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Once again, text NFL to 231-231. That's NFL to 231-231. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at nugenix.com/terms. All right, football fans, we're going to dive back into our Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. We just talked about that Thursday night football matchup between the Browns and the Steelers that has surprisingly more long-term implications than one would think just on face value. But now we're going to do some topics that kind of examine what's happened throughout the first 2 weeks. And first, I want to look at some 0-2 teams and see if any of them we think will end up better than maybe they look right now. And Luke, I'm going to give you first pick in this scenario. There are 5 0-2 teams right now: the Raiders, the Bengals, the Titans, the Panthers, and the Falcons. I think there are some good picks in there, but out of those 5 teams, which of those teams do you think maybe turns it around from kind of the lowly start that they've had?
Yeah, the Owen Tombstone. I love that. Is this super like doom and gloom thing, right? Fewer Owen Tombstones this year than we've had in the past,
Mhm.
but uh yeah, it's what, like 9.5% of teams that go 0-2 make the playoffs, which is not zero. That's almost 1 out
Right.
of 10, right?
Right.
That's like you get like one every other year is kind of how that
Mhm.
plays out, just about. So maybe none of these teams turn it around. I'm not quitting on the Bengals yet, though. I feel like of those 5 teams, that's like the easiest, obvious answer. It's like the
Right.
Bengals have lost a couple of absolutely bonkers games. Um, been some weird stuff going on, and it's one of those things where if they can just iron out 1 or 2 of their problems, Joe Burrow is having a bit of a weird start to the season, and I
Mhm.
I I don't see that being just who he is now.
Right.
So I think I can see a turnaround because I don't think it takes much to put you over the top when you're losing every game, down to the wire.
Yeah.
I say this as somebody who talked himself into that when the Vikings did it last year. So maybe I'm not the best example for Bengals fans, but I do
Fair
think if
enough.
I still had to like put down money on it, I would still probably have the Bengals winning the AFC North if I didn't have probably the Ravens. Honestly, the Ravens look really good, but I would still have the Bengals in the playoffs. I still think that they can turn this around. It's certainly not as over for them as it is for, other teams that you expect to go 0-2. That's the thing about the Owen Tombstone, is that it is mostly populated with like, really bad Lions teams like that
Right.
were, of course they were going to go 0-2. And
Yeah.
because they're terrible, not they're terrible because they're 0-2, they're 0-2 because they're terrible. So we can still look at these teams and like make judgments on it.
Yeah, no, and out of these 5, like, to your point, 3 of these 5 teams made the playoffs last year. So it's not like you're, like you said, you're,
Yeah.
typical
AFC's
customers
wacky.
here. Yeah, it is wacky, and because of that, because of the wackiness of the AFC, my pick is also in the AFC, and when you look at the teams available, I know you may think you know what I'm going to say, but no. No, I am not going with the Tennessee Titans. My pick is the Raiders. I think out of these 5
In that
teams, the
AFC
Raiders, the
West.
Bengals, the Titans, the Panthers, and the Falcons, I think the Raiders are the best team out of this group. They have a
Wow.
brand new coaching staff. They only lost by 5 to the beloved Chargers in the first week of the season. They were beating the Cardinals miserably, and then the Cardinals made an incredible comeback. I get that. But you look at the talent on the team, what they have weaponry wise on offense with Waller and Renfro and Adams. And Derek Carr is, in the second tier, 9 to 15, whatever quarterback. That's fine. That's good enough to steer the ship. I don't think the Broncos are that great. I like the Chargers. They look good, but they haven't blown the doors off by any means. And the Raiders only lost by 5. I could see the Raiders beating the Chargers the next time they play. I could see the Raiders beating the Broncos. So I think, and then you look at Max Crosby, you look at Chandler Jones. I just think that the Raiders have some talent and they have a brand new coaching staff. And with a little more time as we get into the season, I think that the Raiders have as good a chance as any of these teams to turn it around and make the playoffs because of the top tier talent that they have and the promise of the coaching taking more hold throughout the season. But what's interesting is the Raiders play the Titans this week, and I think that's a celebrity death match
A
right
little
there.
bit.
Whichever one of those teams goes to 0-3, they're cooked. They're done.
Yeah, that's
They're
way
not
harder to dig
going to
out
the
of.
playoffs. Yes. So the Raiders and the Titans, that's a winner goes home match, in
Oh,
my opinion, right there.
December
So
playoff game.
yeah, that'll be very interesting to watch. Very interesting to see what happens there. Indeed, a playoff game in September. But we're gonna move forward. We're gonna talk about the teams that are 2-0 and talk about which one of those teams maybe we don't quite believe in that hot start that they have. And there's a little bit more 2-0 teams than there are 0-2 teams. So it should be a fun discussion. Before we get into that, though, do want to tell you guys about our friends over at Bet Online. So Bet Online is the fastest, the easiest way to stay up to date on all gambling developments that you need to follow throughout the football season. They have game matchups, they have news, they have league developments. They're your number one source for all your sporting wagering information. They have every league: MLB, NFL, NBA, MMA, boxing, golf. They even have live betting and esports. So make sure that you head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, football fans, we're going to cap off this Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast, continuing our discussion about the first 2 weeks of the season. We talked about the 0-2 teams. Now I want to talk about the 2-0 teams and see if on the opposite side of the spectrum, there are some teams that we don't believe in that have had a very good start to the year. Before we dive into it, I want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On NFL podcast your first listen every day. Remember, it is Monday through Friday, free and available on all platforms, including the Locked On NFL YouTube channel. So subscribe there, smash the notification bell, and if you're watching on YouTube right now, throw a thumbs up on the video. We greatly do appreciate the support. I also want to take another moment to thank Luke for filling in for Alex. Really, we should thank Alex for filling in for Luke if we're being 100%
I was
honest.
covering the Monday night game, so we just did a switcheroo. That's what this is.
Yep, so a little bit of a swap, but either way, better having Luke on the show than me having to carry the show all by myself. I say that from my perspective, and I say that from the audience's perspective as well, Luke. So thank you very much for stepping in here for Alex and fulfilling your side of the switch.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
My pleasure.
But going in here, 2-0. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got the Philadelphia Eagles. We got the New York Football Giants. We got the Miami Dolphins. We got the Buffalo Bills. And we got the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I know which team you might be going with here, Luke. I think I might know. So I'll go ahead and give you the floor. Out of those teams that are 2-0, is there one team that doesn't look like the others?
One of these things doesn't belong. I'll give you the easy one, Tyler. Since you gave me the easy one on the other side. The Giants clearly are a weird team, but I'll give you those, and I'll go with a hotter take. Really, I mean, the Bills are a Death Star. You can't say them.
Yes, yeah, right.
The Eagles looked fantastic on Monday night, and I've liked the Eagles since preseason. I've liked the Dolphins since preseason. I've been into them going in. I thought they kind of had a sneaky good roster, and oh man, if Tua can find a new gear, they might have something, and maybe we had that 6 touchdowns in a game. What about the Buccaneers, though? There's something in the water, something a little fishy there. So I got a tweet here from Ryan McDowell, who does Locked On Dynasty. Mm-hmm. Says only one team has failed to produce a single positional top 12 fantasy score through 2 weeks this season, and it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have struggled on offense, and they've managed to grit out those games, but this is not, it's like weirdly not what we expect from that Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Like, that is a crazy offense. And now Mike Evans suspended for a game. The thing is, if I really want to put a stake on this, and it's all right, which of these teams doesn't make the playoffs? So obviously the Giants is the answer, but it's hard for me to say that about the Bucs just because the NFC South has a couple of dead fish in it, and also the Saints.
Right.
Maybe the Saints win that division. They're kind of a trendy pick to win that division, like a trendy underdog to win that division. But getting that win in New Orleans puts a big old wet blanket on that. So I do kind of still feel like the Bucs, they at least have a pretty clear path to winning that division. The defense is humming, but I'm just worried about is this finally it for Tom Brady? I mean, he looks like Skeletor. The divorce is hard on him.
Yes.
Is this it? Is this did he lose? Is he sick? Is he okay? That. It's just not what we have come to normally expect. Bucs had a sequence like that at the beginning of 2020 as well. Worked out all right for them. If I say the Bengals can turn around, certainly the 2-0 team can turn it around.
Right.
I just didn't want to say the easy answer.
No, I understand that. And what's funny is I was giving you the easy answer, and my pivot was going to be the Bucs. Let me give you my Tom Brady theory. Luke, he retires. I want to be home with the family, with the kids. When he unretired, what was it, March? It was the day before free agency really kicked off, right? He goes home.
Right.
Maybe being at home isn't as great as I thought it was going to be. Maybe my wife is still pissed off at me for the last 3 years where she thought I should have been done playing football and I played anyway. Maybe things aren't going as hunky-dory as I thought. And if things aren't going to go hunky-dory and you're going to say, divorce me anyways, well, I'm going back to play football. Whatever. So I go back to play football. Blah, 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 blah. Really, though, deep down in my heart, I wish I wasn't playing football and I was happy with my family. I go on a family trip to Cancun in the middle of training camp because I'm desperately trying to save my marriage. It doesn't go according to plan. Not only did my marriage not go according to plan and this not go the way that I wanted, but now I got to take all these stupid questions from the media about where I am, whether this hurts my team. My offensive line is banged up. I'm out here looking like Skeletor with a bad offensive line. They beat Dallas in week 1. I don't think Dallas is very good, especially now without Dak. They beat the Saints in week 2. I don't think the Saints are very good either. They're a 5, 6 win, 7 win team. So Tampa Bay may very well make the playoffs, but you can tell the way Mike Evans acted, Bruce Arians stalking around on the sideline, Tom Brady literally screaming at everybody. If you watch that game,
Right. Something's wrong
in the NFL would, if Aaron Rodgers did some stuff like that, it would be news for weeks. So
well, I mean, it is news when Tom Brady does it too. It's all anybody's talking about with the Bucs.
fair enough. I just think, like you said, there's something in that water. There's something that's not right in Tampa Bay from the front office down to the players. And they may make the playoffs just by default because, like you said, there's a lot of dead fish and then the Saints. But I don't believe in Tampa Bay after what I've seen. And it makes me sad because my Super Bowl prediction was the Bills versus the Bucs. I don't feel very confident in that. And if I could, I'd change it to the Eagles. I'm with you. If there's any of these 2-0 teams that I don't believe are as good as maybe this early record is, I think it's Tampa Bay. So I think you were right on. But we have
Did we accidentally buy into the Giants?
No, we didn't, because we have to, before we leave, also say that we're just trying to be interesting at some point because nobody believes in the Giants. They just beat the Panthers by 3 points. Yeah, they came back on the Titans, but the Titans may be dirty brown water trash too. So, I mean,
Sure.
no, we're not believing in the Giants, right? We don't have to spend a bunch of time explaining why. We know that we don't believe in the Giants because Daniel Jones is their quarterback, right?
Right. So there's a lot of priors going into this. And part of this too is like, I have not watched the Giants as closely. Like I've seen the 2 Bucs games. I haven't seen the Giants
I have.
game. You've seen a Giants game.
Yes.
So did
a
they
lot of
look
it.
like a good team or did they look like a bad team that another team was dissolving in front of?
No, they looked like a bad team that played another team that was falling apart, is what it was,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they don't
And
have
they've
good
got
depth
another
on
2-0 team in their
defense.
division.
Right. They don't have a good quarterback. Saquon Barkley made some incredible plays against the Titans, and the Titans blew a coverage and gave up a wide open 75-yard touchdown to Sterling Shepard. Good teams aren't going to do that for them. Philadelphia's not. Darius Slay isn't going to bust a coverage like Christian Fulton.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, no, I think
so
the
much
Giants
fun.
will be better than people think, though. I've been saying that all year. I thought the Giants were going to go 7-10, 8-9, because I like their offensive line, but they're not like a 2-0 team that's going to be making noise. And I think everybody can generally accept that. But that's why they play the games, Luke. That's why.
Right. That
They play
they're
the games.
probably got all this all of those comments of we don't believe they're the fake 2-0. I'd probably put it right up on that bulletin board. And good for them. Go get it.
Right. Right. I wouldn't be mad about the Brian Dable New York Giants being frisky, even if I don't believe in Daniel Jones. But either way, that was a great discussion. Luke, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, the football week is here. It's Thursday. Let's do this thing. Make sure you guys check out Locked On NFL on Friday with your boy Q and Chris Carter. They do a great job. And check out everybody doing a Locked On NFL show throughout the week, including Luke, who will be back on his normal day of Tuesday next week.
Yeah, Tuesdays with Ross.
Awesome. Well, you can't beat that. So make sure that you guys subscribe, free and available on all platforms every single Monday through Friday, the Locked On NFL podcast. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.